I want to tell you how I prayed for my wife this morning in my quiet time. And I guess if I were to put on a title on it, it would be using the principle of quantum prayer intercession. All right, Pastor Gary, help. What do you mean by that? Well, I'm glad you asked. See, quantum prayer intercession. Intercession is, of course, standing in for somebody else, taking their place. But it's based on quantum science principles and the quantum science principle of entanglement. Now, we've talked about that before, but we are actually all entangled with each other. And God's everything about, and they're discovering that. I believe quantum science is simply discovered one way to express how the life and energy and principles of God work in scientific terminology. They discovered the kingdom of God, in other words, at least to a degree. So, what does that look like when you pray for somebody else? I believe it starts off by believing that you can entangle your prayer with them as if you were them and with them. Now, one of the things with that is a statement I wanted to also make. I would like for us all to get comfortable with make-believe. Because all what we would call make-believe is not make-believe, but it is cooperating with that wonderful, wonderful facility of being able to imagine. But we're so unused to that form of contemplative prayer or communication with God in our culture now, in our scientific culture, that it feels like make-believe initially to us. But as you begin to get comfortable with make-believe or fantasy, it starts taking on more feeling of reality. Because you're starting to realize, it's starting to feel more like one with you. So if you're way ahead if you're a good daydreamer already. Okay. Or if you're a good worrier. Because all worry is it facilitating your imagination in a negative direction. Because you are seeing the lights be cut off if you don't get your bill paid, aren't you? You are seeing the cutoff notice coming in the mail, aren't you? See, we've got that facility within us. And people actually, without realizing it, Gary, automatically are already always using it. Except most of the time, unfortunately, it's being used in a fleshly way or to the negative. And that's what the Bible calls vain imagination. But the Bible never does say all imagination is vain. It warns us against vain imagination. Yes? So, as we employ that, and how I worked with Karen this morning, and how I thought of her, I imagined her as right there with me, or that I went in to where she was, and I was standing right there. And then what I did was I felt myself reach out and intentionally project the God love in me and connect with the God love in her and hug her. And I vocalized in my heart, I hug you now with God's love that brings you peace. I believe that's a very powerful way to pray, especially if you really don't know how to pray for somebody else. That's imagine them in your heart, make believe that you're right there with them. You can take any number of friends that you have right now. You can take Terry right now, in the hospital. You can take any number of people. You can imagine them in your mind's eye right now, and you can feel a heart of love and concern for them, and you, in your imagination body, can reach out and encircle them with your arms, your quantum arms, and you can imagine and speak in your heart with your quantum imagined voice, I release God's love to touch you where you need it the most for you to experience peace. Do you believe that's true? Yeah? Okay then. We're going to take a couple of minutes. I want you to close your eyes and do it. Pick somebody out and just do it.